Welcome back, friends. So this week I don't have a gameplay video for you because I am taking care of a couple of personal things here. Between the channel and personal life, it's been pretty hectic, but I don't want to leave you without anything for this week. So if you've been watching my channel, you know that I've been picking up Vindictus again after such a long time. It's been quite a few years since I've actually played Vindictus, but jumping back into it, I remember just how fun the game is. There's plenty of action, combat, and lots of destructible environment to enjoy when you're playing the game. And after playing it for a while, I thought to myself, it would be really awesome if this game got some type of really heavy-duty update. Who knows, something like a graphics engine update or a refresher to the style of the game, maybe some quality of life updates, something to make it a little bit faster. Sometimes it's pretty laggy and sometimes it can just kind of freeze up on you. And while I was still in thought with that idea, I saw a video on YouTube for something called Vindictus Defying Fate. And as soon as I saw that, I had to click on the video to see what it was all about. So it looks like NEXON is doing something of a rehash of Vindictus with a newer graphics engine. So for the original Vindictus, it looks like it was created using the Source engine, which I think a lot of people were familiar with at the time. But again, since it's been such a long time since Vindictus came out, there have been a lot of upgrades to these graphical engines, most notably the Unreal Engine, which I think most people are familiar with at this point. And there's just so much more you can do with it. So I guess NEXON took the hint and they went ahead and started a new project based on the same lore and many of the same characters of the world of Vindictus. So I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what this new game is really going to be about and what aspects are going to be different from the previous rendition of Vindictus. So as you can see, here we have two trailers that I'll be showing you. The first one is essentially when Vindictus first came out, and it's just a little bit of gameplay from the original series of the game, and pretty much when the engine was still new and when the game itself was still new. So you will see it's a little bit clunky. The graphics are a little bit choppy, you could say, but it still looks good. For what it was back in the day, this was kind of the top tier niche for action gameplay as an MMO. Although technically Vindictus is not a regular MMORPG, but rather it's something more like a hub-based instanced MMO, something like a semi-MMO, if you will. Pretty much you can join a team of up to 4 people in a regular stage. And then some of the raids, I think you can go anywhere up to like 7 or 8 people, maybe more, but it's been a while since I've played any raids. But anyways, I remember being super excited when this game was first coming out. I would keep bugging my brother, showing him the trailers and telling him how awesome the game was going to be. And I was just super hyped to jump into the game and to get my action on. And I definitely wasn't disappointed. When I first started playing, I found all the cool things that you could do inside this game using this engine. You pick up the enemies, slam them against the walls. You can throw them into each other. You can pick up giant pieces of broken pillars and smash them on the enemies. It was a really cool experience. Now, as you can see with the new trailer for Vindictus Defying Fate, you'll notice that, again, the graphics engine has been completely overhauled. This is using the Unreal Engine, which is, I think, by far the most popular engine because of the graphic fidelity and the amount of things that you can do using this engine. And as you saw in the original trailer, the first couple of characters that they came out with for this game are, of course, Lan, who is using 2 swords, and he's very agile. So he's pretty much your standard damage dealer, and he is quite fast and has a lot of good iframes if you know how to play him. So you can avoid damage and dish out damage at the same time. And then you also have Fiona. And Fiona is a defensive character. She is the general tank class of character for Vindictus when it first came out. And she does have the ability to block certain heavy attacks that could typically do a lot of damage or knock you out. And she can block these and sometimes parry them. So she is a good character to use if you are a defensive player. But yeah, so these two are the 2 original characters. And as we see here, they are going to be rehashing it to the point where we will be starting again brand new with Lan and with Fiona. And so the response to these trailers is pretty much what I was expecting. A lot of people are anticipating this. They think many of the players who used to play this had sort of moved on, like myself, but we always had that in the back of our mind. You know, what if Vindictus came out again? What if they made Vindictus Part 2? And what type of aspects of the game would they keep? It really is an exciting moment right now for Vindictus players, both old and new. And I did just want to kind of touch a little bit on what the devs are saying about this game. So we're going to bring up some frequently asked questions here. And so I'm sure many people are wondering when this game will come out. Well, for starters, there is a pre-alpha test scheduled for March 13th, 2024 through March 18th, 2024. And currently it is scheduled only to be available on Steam. But at the very least, even though it's pre-alpha, so it's still very, very early in its development stages, we should be able to get a small idea of what the game's going to look like and play like. Based on the trailers, it looks fairly similar to the original, but going into it, I do kind of just want to give it a try first and see exactly just how similar it is to the original Vindictus. Another question that I'm sure a lot of people are curious about is the character roster. So as we've seen from the trailer, we do have Lan and Fiona available. So once again, those two are the two of the original characters from the first Vindictus game, and we do see that those are going to be playable again for this pre-alpha test. These are going to be the only characters that will be playable currently. However, as you see here, they are expected to have more characters released eventually as the game grows. But let's not hope for too much currently, because again, this is still very early and this game is barely even into the pre-alpha stage. Unlike the original Vindictus, which has had many, many years to grow and expand, it has something like 24 characters at this point. We do have to wait a little while to see if we're going to get any other characters in here and what type of characters they are going to be. Another interesting aspect of the pre-alpha gameplay is that it's only going to be a single player. Now that could just be because it's in testing phases, and I'm pretty sure it would be more difficult to add any type of multiplayer currently. So we can expect, according to the dev, some sort of multiplayer mode after the game actually releases in launch. But again, for the pre-alpha, it's only going to be single player mode. Another question a lot of people seem to have is this going to be an open world game? And as you've seen from the trailer, you saw how large the landscapes can be and how beautiful they are as well. By the way, the graphics there look amazing. But this is going to be somewhat of a more larger open area type of game, if that makes sense, as opposed to an open world game. So it's not going to be something like Genshin Impact or Tears of the Kingdom, where you can fly around and jump around the world and do all kinds of things. But I guess it's still going to be similar to the original Vindictus, except for the fact that it's going to be a bit more, as it says here, sizable field. So it's going to be more like a larger world aspect as opposed to an open world. In regards to the lore of Vindictus, the question here is this game actually Vindictus 2? And the answer the devs say is this is actually not Vindictus 2. What it is sort of like Final Fantasy VII remake style, where it does follow a lot of the same lore and you do have a lot of the same characters, but this is not a direct sequel to Vindictus. This is more or less maybe a retelling of the story, or maybe it's going to move in a different direction. We don't know yet. But what they are saying here is that it is a completely new game and there will be a different story, characters, and other content. So I'm sure many of us are familiar with Souls-like games. Of course, they get this genre from things like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring, and Bloodborne, those style of games. And people look at this game, they're saying, well, this reminds me a lot of these Souls-like games. Now, the truth is that Vindictus from the very beginning has played quite similarly to these style of games. When you play Vindictus, you do have the traditional health bar, so you can see how much damage you're taking and how much more you can survive. You have an SP gauge for using powerful skills on enemies, and then you do have a stamina bar, which is essentially used for attacking and dodging or defending attacks. And all of these things are very reminiscent to Souls-like games. However, this is a little bit different as opposed to traditional Souls-like games, whereas Vindictus is a little more free, a little bit more fast-paced, you could say. And I believe, according to the devs notes here, this is going to be similar to original Vindictus. However, being maybe slightly more restrictive in gameplay. The original Vindictus model was a little more based around the physics of the game, so maybe they'll incorporate a little bit more of that into this one. Speaking of which, here we have a little bit more detail into what makes Vindictus Defying Fate different from the original Vindictus. And we read here that for Vindictus Defying Fate, there's somewhat of a heavier and more restrained battle system, which is essentially what I thought, because some of the first versions were a little bit more, as it says here, restrained and not so much open and fast-paced as Vindictus is right now. And so I think they're trying to focus here more on the aspect of each individual character, as opposed to making them all, I guess, similar in a way to make the gameplay a little bit easier. So in this sense, it may be a more challenging game. So as things like attack speed, there isn't a stat for that. It's more determined based on the character you choose, so that you can really get into the character that you're playing and really conform yourself to the combat style and pick one that really suits you. As I mentioned before, this pre-alpha test is going to be only for PC players who have Steam, but not to fear. They have expressed here their intentions on releasing this game for consoles in the future. However, those details are still forthcoming, and we will know a little bit more about it as they get into development of this game. So yeah, that's gonna about wrap it up here. But I am very excited to test this game out. Once again, I am an original Vindictus player from back in the good old days, and though I haven't played the game in a while, it's always been fresh in my memory as one of the games that I've enjoyed playing. I did play this game for years, let me tell you, for many years, but again, there was just a point where I wasn't able to invest that type of time into the game anymore, and I did have to move on. But I am excited for Vindictus Defying Fate, and I absolutely will be bringing you footage of the pre-alpha test when it comes out. As you can see here, they have specified that there is no NDA here. It is going to be open to anyone who has Steam. We will be able to broadcast or upload videos of the gameplay footage on YouTube or Twitch. So do expect this in the upcoming week or two. Once the game comes out, I will absolutely play this game and absolutely share that gameplay footage with you, and then you can make up your own mind whether you are as excited as I am for this game or not. That's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for visiting my channel, and if you're interested in these type of content, then please feel free to stop by, subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment below if you like. Whatever you choose is up to you, but thanks anyway for stopping by and checking this out. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.